E eu tô aqui no...
Hi guys, how you
Hello,
doing?
Matt. How are you?
How are you? Can you hear me?
Are you listening okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, wait a minute. Let me. Okay. Are you listening me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I will try to get better with my English, okay? Because I am practicing.
You sound great.
Okay. Matt, I made your presentation for our friends in Brazil. I talk a little about you and your dogs and your judgment in ADBA. And all people here, here in Brazil, we have lots of UKC shows, you know, UKC clubs. ADBA is a start here. We are just in the beginning to make ADBA shows. So people have lots of questions about that because we are making a change of standard. We usually see UKC standard. Now we are seeing ADBA standard growing here. So it's a very good thing. Listen, ADBA judge talking about ADBA shows, ADBA standard, the difference, you know. I made some questions for you. We are going to talk about it. And some people made lots of questions more. I will try to translate for you. Okay?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Did you understand everything?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have to speak slowly because the subtitles are automatic, you know? I have to speak slowly and clearly. Okay?
You sound great.
Wait a minute. Let me take the questions here. I will translate a little bit, okay? Okay, Matt, let's talk about the questions I sent you. Let's see the first one. Okay. Talking about ADBA standard, comparing to the UKC, we are seeing lots of dogs losing body mass. I don't know if it's clear for you, because when we compare the UKC standard to the ADBA and the ultimate champions, we are seeing losing body mass comparing to the UKC. Do you understand that?
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you think it is real?
I do. Honestly, I do think it's real. I think it's over the last 10 years, you know, attending shows and whatnot, now judging, it seems that a lot of the traditional American Pit Bull Terriers, especially at the ADBA shows, some of the dogs were almost getting that whippet look, like very frail, not too much body mass. And I was very confused why these dogs were winning, and it seemed like they continued to win in the ADBA shows, and I was very confused by it, because I mean, even in the standard calls for a well-balanced dog, not a frail dog. I mean, the front end is supposed to be, you know, if we're going back to history, it's supposed to be to withstand some punishment, and a frail dog is not going to hold up.
Why do you think it's happening? Why is that?
I'm not sure, and it's honestly one of the reasons I decided to become a judge. A lot of these dogs were just winning and winning, and I think actually over the last few years we're starting to see a lot better dogs starting to turn back up. With the presence of, I mean, the name Beef, when Grand Champion Beef came out, I mean, he started cleaning up, and he was a very correct dog with a very solid front end, very correct. And now, you see
I don't know if I'm right, but in the first I was thinking ADBA wants to run far from the American Staffordshire. That's why they are choosing dogs. They are too different. Maybe it's a possibility, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. But I mean, I guess it's possible. I mean, when I'm out there, I still see a lot of people breeding dogs for that look. And it's, I mean, honestly, it's really hard to pick them. I mean, obviously, if they're the closest dog to the standard in that class, you gotta pick them. But you're still seeing people are breeding for that. And for me, it seems like those dogs are just further and further generations away from what the dogs were intended for. And that's a real problem.
Okay. Okay, Matt, let's go to the second question, okay?
Okay.
Talking about ADBA standard, that's a subject we would like to talk about. Talking about the top line. Top line is gaining a curvature, you know. I don't know if you see the same thing, but in the German Shepherd, we saw the same situation. The top line going down in a hard curve. I don't know if you see that.
Actually, I've seen a lot of the German Shepherds you're talking about with that real hard top line coming down. The ADBA standard calls for a 30-degree hip alignment, so a hip angle. What I'm actually seeing up here in North America is quite the opposite. I'm seeing a lot of more flatback dogs with high tail sets, quite the opposite. Really? Of what the German Shepherds are, and it's actually a really huge pet peeve of mine. I'd like to see a nice 30-degree angle with a nice low tail set, and because I think that's the very beginning of the start of the angulation for a nice rear end.
Okay, so you don't see lots of dogs with too much curvature, too many degrees down? No,
not up here. Like I said, when I've been judging, I've been actually seeing a lot of the exact opposite. Really high tail sets and kind of flat hips. Yeah. We saw that a lot in the UKC shows. That's why I'm asking. Okay, Matt. Let's go to the third. Here in Brazil, we have a concern about missing teeth. You know. It's a problem we have in the breeding. It's too hard, too difficult to lose that problem, you know, to solve that problem. And I saw some ADBA champions missing tooth. What do you think about that? It's a concern between American breeders? It's a concern. The thing is, right now with the ADBA, the rule, or in the standard, it says if a dog's tooth is chipped, you can still trophy a dog. If it's missing, if the whole root, everything's gone, and the tooth is missing, that is a fault, and you're not supposed to trophy that dog or give the dog the champion cup. So that is a concern. Okay. And that wasn't clear a couple of years ago.
Okay, any missing, it's a fault. You don't have to make a champion with a missing tooth.
I've seen some champions with some missing teeth, but we don't know if it could be after. I mean, they could have made champion and I've lost the tooth. I mean, I've had champions work and bite something that they shouldn't have and completely lose a cutter. And then that's it. I mean, I know I wasn't placing in the champion class with them. Okay.
And about the bite, like underbite, scissor bite, how do you, how important is for you when judging?
It's more important for me to see the cutters or the canines line up. That's most important to me. If there's a little bit of underbite, I'm not losing too much sleep over it. Although it is important, if it's coming down to two dogs and super close, maybe I'll take that in consideration. But my number one is the working teeth. Those ones are lined up.
Okay, Matt. Let's go ahead. About weight and height, we talk a lot here about dogs being proportional, you know, but we see too many different weights and heights in our dogs. How do you see that? We have a very mixed race talking about height and weight. Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, you want a well-balanced dog. You want a dog that's square. So at the shoulder to the hip, you want that to, equal a square. The ADBA standard calls for a dog that you want it to be the tallest dog at any given weight. So back in the day when they were used for what they were used for, they had the most advantage. You wanted the biggest dog at the lightest weight, so you would have that advantage in a pit contest. But one thing I am noticing now,
so
earlier, go ahead. Oh,
but you see,
too tall and they're a little bit frail.
Yeah,
so it is important to have that balance.
But you see too many different heights in an ADBA ring, weights and heights. You said you see too many different kinds of dogs.
For the most part, they're relatively consistent. It is nice to see a good square dog though, that is balanced. That's ultimately what we're looking for. If you're looking at the shoulder blades and the hips.
I am asking because the ADBA allow a very large range of weight,
Yes.
It allow the breeders breed lots of kind of dogs, large dogs, small dogs. Even in the same ring, you see a very small dog, large dog, all in the standard.
Yeah. So you're gonna. That's what's cool about the ADBA standard. It doesn't matter how big the dog is, as long as it's balanced. As long as it's not carrying too much weight in the rear end and it's equally proportioned and it moves well, that's the most important thing. I have dogs in my yard that are 25 pounds and I've had dogs over 60 pounds. So the weight doesn't necessarily bother me. We're looking for the proportion and a well-balanced dog.
Comparing the two standards, UKC and ADBA, we have 2 points of big difference: head and back legs, the proportional of head and back legs. Sometimes we see dogs going well in the UKC shows and even the ADBA shows, but you see the proportional of head and back legs are from the UKC standard. Do you think it's a problem, dogs with UKC proportional head and back legs go to the ADBA ring and maybe win some prize?
I think it's possible. Really, I don't honestly know a lot about the UKC have seen that have been represented in that standard. They seem to be carrying a little bit too much mass in the rear end, and their head width seems to be a little bit too much to win in the ADBA. I really believe that the ADBA heritage standard was designed off the original dog bred for combat, and a lot of those dogs for the UKC are carrying a lot of extra weight, and that's going to slow down their movement. It's not going to make them as agile. So they may do well in that. Like I said, I don't know about much about the UKC standard and what they're calling for, but when you're looking at the ADBA standard, they're looking for the original dog. They're trying to, keep it as close to that original, form follows function dog, like what it was originally bred for. So I think their rear ends are going to be a little bit too heavy and their heads are going to be a little bit too wide to consistently win. But I've seen UKC dogs clean up at ADBA events. So if it's a good dog, I don't know where I lost you.
Yeah, I will tell you. Let's wait a few minutes to everybody come in. We lost the connection.
All right.
Yeah, we were talking about the difference between the UKC standard. Talking about UKC, the UKC dogs have heavy back legs, you know, so much muscle in the back legs. It's the difference. We have some friends in USA that breed for the UKC standards and go to in the ADBA rings, and you see the difference in the back legs. They are too much heavy, you know, too much muscle in the dogs.
I think that we do see them from time to time, and I'm not sure how well they're doing. It's one of those things that if you are going by the ADBA standards, it does call for a light, springy rear end, because back when they were doing pit contests, you wanted a dog that was super agile and not carrying too much weight, because that weight back there, it was useless weight for those in the pit.
Yeah. I think maybe there were too many bloodlines that were bred for just for look, you know, just for to like a bully, you know, and we have this kind of heritage, too many muscle dogs. And I'm asking you because here in Brazil we have too many dogs like that, and these people would like to go to the ADBA rings, and they want to know how to do that. I think we have to breed with ADBA dogs, but right now they want to know how much importance this problem should have in ADBA ring, you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure mixing them is going to be the solution. I think maybe finding different outlets, you know, start working with the top dog and the weight pull and things like that.
Yeah.
The conformation is going to be tough. I mean, especially if you're putting one dog that was bred for something very different than the other. I mean, we go back a bunch of generations. I could be wrong, but I think it was the Colby's Primo dog was the original AKC, you know, Staffordshire Terrier, which I'm sure the UKC was very close on copying the standard. But even those dogs back then, they were originally pit dogs. And then, like I said, I don't know much about the UKC standard and what they're calling for, but you do see a difference in the bone in the rear end for sure.
Let's go back to the other question. Here in Brazil, we are seeing lots of different clubs, you know. We are seeing ADBA, APGR, lots of clubs, you know. I would like to know from you, how do you see these other clubs in USA? Do they have importance like ADBA? How the breeders see that?
I think honestly, it's all good. The more these dogs are getting out there and we're doing something positive with the dogs, nothing bad can come from that. I would actually like to see a little bit more unity and, you know, collaborations and things like that. I think that would be super cool. Anytime we're doing something with these dogs out in the public where people can see that we're doing something positive, it's all good. It's too bad it's so cliquey that, you know, some people only go to certain shows and whatnot. It would be really cool if everybody started, you know, sharing and going to the other clubs. Okay, great. I finished my question. I would like to start with some friends' questions, okay? Sure. A friend of us asked about some details about color of the nose, like butterfly, you know, the butterfly nose. Yeah. Problems like tail, like pigtail, and some bad ears, like the position of the ears. This kind of faults, how important are them in the judgment? Not for me. The little things like that, I don't. I'm not losing sleep over that. Ears, bad ears, I don't consider that a fault at all. And the nose, I'm not worried about that. I mean, with the eyes, I don't want to see the you know dogs, albino dogs, things like that. But little things like that, I don't bother me, especially bad ears. I got plenty of dogs with ears like that.
Okay, they are not faults and they are not problem in the judgment. Okay, yeah.
Oh, the ears are certainly not.
And how about the tail?
The tail. What was the question on the tail? I didn't understand. Sorry.
They are asking about the wrong tail, like pigtail and faults in the tail.
In the standard, the cone tail is 15 points, so it's not going to be the end of the world. Do I like it? No, but I mean, if that's the best dog in the ring or closer to the standard, it's going to win. It's to the standard. It's only 15 points.
Okay, it's not too much important.
It
Okay, wait a minute.
Close class, it's gonna be.
Okay. Okay, Matt, let's see some questions from the people here. Wait a minute. Okay. People here are asking about the working pit bull dog. This new name ADBA are giving for the bully dogs. How do you see that is getting too much a problem for some breeders in USA? How do you see that?
I think it was a good thing because for a while the ADBA was just registering bully dogs, and they were actually the UKC style as all one group as pit bulls. This at least separates them. And, you know, a lot of people I know weight pull with those dogs, and it gives them a way to register those dogs as well. So I think it's a good thing.
And are you seeing so many breeders arguing about that, like complaining about that?
Listen, if you give somebody a topic, they're going to complain about it. I mean, especially these dogs, somebody's going to complain. And they can't worry about too many people like that. But there were some people complaining. But, I mean, it was as clear as day that a lot of these dogs were not American Pit Bull Terrier. They did not fit the breed type at all. And instead of taking away their papers, they gave them a way to keep them registered so they can at least participate in the athletic events. So I think it's all good.
Okay. Matt, let me ask you two questions. Talking about our reality here in Brazil. Here we have too many dogs from bloodlines that came from breeders that bred for confirmation, like Sandy Comer, Larson, Castillo, some breeders that use old family head nose with dual register dogs. You know? Do you know this kind of bloodlines? Here in Brazil, we have too many dogs.
Too many dogs? No, I'm familiar with the old family stuff. I wasn't familiar with those other lines.
Okay, here in Brazil, we have too many dogs with these bloodlines. They're like a mix of old family head noses with dual register dogs, AKC, UKC dogs, okay? How do you see that in USA? You see like a original pit bull? Do you see if the dog is in the standard? How do you classify this kind of dog?
That, I think, honestly, would probably fall directly into that ADBA working pit bull category. And most of those dogs are not going to do that well with the traditional ADBA heritage standard, but it doesn't mean that there's not other things that you guys can do with them. It's going to be tough unless you're getting dogs from working lines. It's going to be tough to turn that ship to, you know, start getting more dogs that are actually fit the original standard.
Okay, too many people asking about the behavior of the dogs in the ADBA ring. How the dog must do, talking about temperament and behavior. They must bark, go in confident. How do you see that?
Listen, it's very normal to see a dog barking at other dogs. That's okay. If a dog's going too crazy, it sometimes gets a little bit too difficult to judge. And in a situation like that, if the dog's going really crazy, I may have them walk away a little bit just so I can get a better look at the dog. dog aggression is okay in my book. That's the dog. We're dealing with the American Pit Bull Terrier. Human aggression I won't tolerate. I've had a couple of weird dogs in the ring, and none that have, lashed out at me or anything like that, but you can see a dog that isn't comfortable. For me, the dog does not have to be barking. The dog does not have to be firing off. I just want to see a confident dog. I want to see a dog that wants to be there. You can see some dogs that don't, may not have been socialized that well, and they look nervous, or they haven't been around other people and things like that. That is a major fault for me. So I don't need to see the dog going crazy. I just want to see a dog alert and confident in owning its space.
Okay. I'm trying to remember some words. Wait a minute.
It's okay.
Não,
Venha pro mim.
cadê o amigo nosso tradutor lá?
Yeah.
Tem tradutor aqui?
Okay, Matt, I will try to explain, okay? Because I don't remember the word. Some people are asking about dogs that have not correct foot, not correct feet, like just a little, like a feet, a little turn on the feet. Okay, I don't know if I make it clear. Because we see lots of sport dogs with this kind of not good teeth, good feet,
I think it is something that I like to see, a nice tight foot on a dog. You do see some splayed feet on some. I think this really comes down to, when a dog has healthy feet, it's going to be able to work longer. You're going to be able to get more out of the dog, and that is something that definitely needs to be taken into account when you're judging the dog. If you see a dog with weak pasterns and splayed feet, you know that you're not going to be able to get the most out of that dog, especially when you're conditioning and whatnot. I think it is super important.
Yeah. Sometimes we see some dogs close the back legs, not parallel, close the back legs a little. Do you see it's a fault? It's a heavy fault, important fault?
Well, in the standard, the rear end is 30%, and I focus a lot on the rear end. It is nice to see the hocks nice and straight. You will see a dog that is cow hawk from once in a while, and that will take away some points for sure.
Okay. Matt, another question. Here in Brazil, we have this question in all the places here talking about the American Pit Bull Terrier. Do you think it's possible to breed the original American Pit Bull Terrier in the alternative sports without the original sports, because we know it's forbidden? Do you think it's possible?
It is possible, and it's the world that we live in right now. I am a firm believer, if you don't use it, you lose it. But in this world now, we have to use our best judgment for and guidance for people that we look up to, and see which direction we think the best breedings would be. I think right now a lot of people are just breeding dogs to breed dogs, and I think that's a major problem, and I think that's why we got a lot of those dogs that looked like the Whippets for so long. We're definitely coming to a crossroads right now where it's going to be tough, and we're going to have to be super selective with the dogs that we breed, and we can't be overbreeding just to breed. But I mean, it's going to be possible. I mean, it's the world we live in. We have no choice.
Okay. Matt, let me see if is there another question here. Okay, people are asking about the so tight, so close breedings between brothers. How do you see that?
I think it's more on the dog, but I think you can breed pretty tight, but you have to breed out afterwards. Like, I've seen a lot of good brother-sister breedings. Andy's a firm believer, or Andy Segas, who was on last week, he was a firm believer in breeding half-brother, half-sisters. I think he implements that into his breeding programs a lot, and I think that's okay. I've seen a lot of really good father-daughter breedings, but when you start doing it over and over, you're going to start picking up a lot of those faults, and the faults and the genetic issues are going to carry.
Okay. Matt, let me ask you the last one, okay? Here in Brazil, we have lots of old family head noses fans, okay? I don't know if you like the old family head noses, but there is a doubt here about how you consider old family red nose dog. 50% of old family, can we call this dog old family red nose, or must be 100%? How in USA you call an old family red nose dog?
I don't know. It's, I guess, a good question. I don't run those lines, so I mean, I'm not the one to say. And plus, I'm not a snob when it comes to pedigrees and things like that. If they're your dogs, and
okay,
if you're 50% in their old family, who cares what anybody else thinks? They're your dogs. Everybody has too many opinions. If you think they're old family red nose,
it's not a silly discussion, huh?
Don't worry about what those other people think. People worry.
Yeah. Here in Brazil, the people like to talk about bloodlines, like to discuss that.
Who cares? It's all about the dogs. People worry about the paperwork.
Okay, Matt, I would like to thank you very much about your time. You answer lots of questions of people here. We have lots of Brazilian here that are ADBA fans, and they are asking lots of questions. They want to know more about ADBA because ADBA is growing here. We have now 3 clubs here doing ADBA shows. I think soon we will invite you to judge here. And I would like to thank you very much for your time, your attention. I would like to personally now thank you very much for what you've done for us about the puppies. They are fantastic. They're very nice. And I have to thank you about that because I know the difficult to send dogs to other country. I'd like to personally thank you for that, okay?
You made it so easy. You're such professionals. I love what you guys are doing down there.
Thank you very much. I hope someday I can send you back, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much, Matt. I will upload this video maybe tomorrow with subtitles, okay? And if anybody has another question, I will put your contact in the video, okay?
All right.
Thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.